What is search engine optimization? An explanation for bloggers and content producers. If you're a blogger, content producer, YouTuber, anyone who's making content that is going to be put online, you need to know about SEO. And a lot of you write to me and ask, what is SEO and how do I get some? Well, SEO isn't a thing and you don't get it just once. It's not a software you install. It's really a process and a path to building better content, not just for your users, but for the bots from Microsoft and Google that crawl your site to determine what it's about. If you're just getting started in the blogging space or in the content production space, your core audience is basically you and the people you've told about your website. In order to grow that audience, you need to start appearing in search results for topics so that more people will find your content, and as they find your content, will decide to visit your site more often. In order to do this, you really need to start ranking in Google and Microsoft Bing for topics that you want to get traffic for. The way Google determines whether or not your site is going to rank in search results is based on a couple of things. The first one is how your page is constructed. A lot of SEO doesn't address this, but a lot of WordPress plugins and other software will attempt to address this, often quite poorly. Good SEO basically boils down to making your page construction look very much like Wikipedia. There are other sites, but Wikipedia ranks very well for a number of reasons, and one of which is it has very large blocks of text that are separated by the paragraph markers, open P and close P. By creating large blocks of text, Google assumes that you're conveying information. When you use divs to separate your text, such as in a landing page for a sales page, Google assumes that you are presenting sales information or worrying more about the aesthetics of your page than the content of your page. Because of this, large blocks of text, generally 120 words or more, a good-sized paragraph, and pages with more than 300 words on the page are going to outrank pages that have very short bits of text or are using divs. Google does use reading scores and readability scores in order to determine how informative your text is. Using larger words, not necessarily huge words, but averaging more than 5 letters per word definitely helps your SEO score. Also, using reasonably sized paragraphs helps a great deal in your ranking in Google. So you basically want to keep your sentences above 5 words per sentence, above 5 letters per word, and paragraphs at about 100 words per paragraph. Your pages should have between 300 and 500 words per page. While you can have more than the 500 word limit on a page, generally you're going to have a better chance to rank for more topics by separating pages into lengths of about 500 words per page. So if you have a 2,000 word essay, you should probably separate it across 4 pages. The next factor that Google, Bing, and other search engines use for ranking is the number of inlinks that you have. Inlinks come from people talking about your website online. When you blog something, other bloggers may respond to it. This builds your search engine rankings. If you're just getting started and don't have any audience, it's often hard to get these initial inbound links. This is when you need to start calling in favors. Reach out to people that you've had interaction with and ask them to respond to the articles you've written. If you don't have time or friends for that, you may want to look at doing a press release via PR web or business web, or doing something newsworthy so that you can get those inbound links initially. You can also look at using social bookmarking sites such as Dig and StumbleUpon in order to get you some initial traffic. This works in a twofold approach. One, by submitting to these social bookmarks, you're getting inbound links. And two, if you've targeted it correctly, you'll get inbound links from the readers that are using those services as they discover your content. This all assumes that you have content that's interesting and that people would want to read. Unfortunately, if you create crap content, no one's going to want to read it, so no one's going to link to it, so it isn't going to get good rankings. Because so many spammers were exploiting this things get linked to even if they suck kind of mentality by buying links or spamming links all over the web or hacking WordPress sites in order to get inbound links, what Google has done is started to use Panda. Panda uses user usability scoring to change the search results. Basically, if people click on your result in search, visit the page, and only stay for 10 seconds because they realize that the content isn't any good, Google starts to assign you a penalty. As your usability scores go down, that penalty increases to eventually you have very little search ranking as a result of these usability penalties. If you're going to optimize your site, you need to balance usability, link interactivity, and good page construction. Some of these things, like I said, you can do on your own. Creating good content is definitely something you should own up to. Creating a good user experience, depending on your abilities as a web designer or as a user experience designer, may be beyond what you can control, and you may want to seek some outside assistance. If you're looking at page construction, one of the first tools to look at is the W3C validator. The W3C validator will tell you whether or not your page is at least compliant HTML, which is a big part of making sure that Google's going to parse it correctly. It won't help with whether or not you've used paragraphs in the right spot and whether you've used divs in the right spot, but it will give you a good start. Other tools are out there to make good informed SEO choices, but generally what you want to do is do as much as you can, get started, and as you start to get traction and can afford it, spend a little more on SEO.